Hello and welcome to etbfsi.com. My name is Amol Dete, and today we are going to discuss how our financial services or the BFSI companies ensuring the stable digital adoption. As we all understand, the BFSI companies are going far more aggressively in adopting digital, but the important question is how are they ensuring that the adoption, the transformation, and whatever the technologies they are embracing are stable enough? And to have this discussion, I have three top speakers with me. Allow me to introduce them to you. My first speaker is Mr. Subhash Kelkar, CTO and CDO, ICICI Securities Limited. Mr. Kelkar, glad to have you on this show. My
Thank
next
you.
speaker is Mr. KNC Nair, the Group CIO of the Muthoot Group. Mr. Nair, glad to have you here.
Thank you.
My next speaker is Mr. Akash Desai, the Regional Director, Solution Consulting, ServiceNow. Mr. Desai, glad to have you here.
Pleasure is mine as well. Thanks, Amol.
Thank you, gentlemen. And to begin with, I have a very basic questions to all of you. As we understand that the BFSI have always been the forefront in adopting technology. In fact, the proliferation of technology is far more visible, specifically in a BFSI sector. But now the biggest challenge is how to make that stable. How BFSI companies should ensure that whatever the technologies and the digitalization they have done should remain stable. And Mr. Kaker, I will come to you first, and I would like you to take this question.
So where I'm coming from is there is nothing like a stable digital state. It is almost always evolving mode. So today you have made certain journeys. Tomorrow you'll have to redo those journeys in a very different way because newer UI UX are coming in the market. Newer technologies are coming in the market. For example, React Native was popular some time back. Now there is a Flutter wave, right? So you need to constantly keep on upgrading in terms of technology, the kind of features they offer, the speed with which they allow you to develop your things, so time to market, the way they allow you to easily use the consistent user experiences across OS, the way they allow you to natively use certain OS features, the performance of these apps. So all these factors determine which technology you want to go for, and you cannot stick with the same technology forever. Every 2 3 years you will have to change the technology.
Noted your points, Mr. Kelkar. So every after 3 to 4 years, you have to change your technology. Valid points. Mr. Nair, what are your views? How do you think BFSI companies should make stable digital adoption?
Any technology, any architecture, any solution will be evergreen kind of thing. It's a continual process, but being the BFSI as such, some sort of stability is required for any application we build. I mean, we can't build enterprise-wide application just for 3 months, 6 months, etc. So we had to see that this will be at least in the foreseeable future. Let us say 2 to 3 years or 3 to 5 years, it should work with minimal changes. So what we do is actually whenever we build an application, any kind of business changes we anticipate can be done with much less effort. So high level of parameterization and modularization, etc. So that not only technology platforms or other changes, but business requirement also has to be incorporated in the solution. So when I look at the stability of the solution, it's not only technology, but the functionality delivery also. So we have to see both sides. Of course, like Mr. Kelkar told, 2 to 3 years, that is what the time frame we can maximum expect. Any kind of, is continually evolving. So the only way is, the continually update, the updation by the technical team, as well as the business users also, as well as the end users also. Say 3 years back, 5 years back, if you say that our end customers, you use an app, etc., which would be unrealistic. But nowadays, it will be easier. So that way, you have to look at educating, creating awareness among the customers as well as the employees also in the new technology, so that they will adopt, they will handhold these customers, they will educate them, etc. So that is,
Right.
in short, the approach we follow.
Okay. Noted your points, Mr. Nair. In fact, very valuable points from both of you. Let me take some tech perspective here. Mr. Desai, I will come to you and I would like you to take the same question, how the BFSI company should look at the stable digital adoption.
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the most important questions right now across multiple industry verticals. And the BFSI, definitely, and we are talking about a new normal now. And businesses are still in the process of understanding the new normal.
Right.
In the face of it, we are kind of seeing that, okay, work has shifted to home. Most of the people are working from home. That's the new normal. But just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of behavioral changes. The way the organizations are now driving their processes or relooking at their processes, with the work from home coming into play, and this frequent lockdowns and the new way of functioning that is happening. So a lot of business are trying to understand the new normal, and within that, how do I have an environment which is flexible, which is agile and quickly can adapt to the new changes that continuously are happening around you. So one of the, I would say, shift that I am seeing as I speak to multiple BFSI customers here in the West, they are shifting away from point solutions. They are shifting away from siloed environments. Okay, they want to have a platform where you can leverage information across multiple functions, and that's going to provide them the transparency, the control, and the visibility. And very importantly, the platforms that they are evaluating, they are looking for low-code, no-code platform. As Shubhas also mentioned, every 2-3 years things change. We can always expect a new normal every 2 to 3 years. So can the platform adapt? Can it be more agile without a major overhaul? Can the platform, with its low-code, no-code ability, adapt to the evolving situations? And Nair, you brought a very important point. Keeping in mind the business aspect, the functional requirement, how do I align my technology to the new normals? So those are the, I would say, considerations that I'm seeing most of the BFSI organizations are looking for.
Okay, noted your points, Mr. Desai. In fact, I sometimes always, wonder the kinds of words, the tech companies use, loco, noco, noco. And I think the millennials are copying it really well. They also call it TTYL, FOMO, ROFTL. Quite interesting these words and abbreviations are. Thank you, Mr. Desai. I will pick up one or two point of, from all of you. And I think Mr. Nair said that awareness is very important about the technology, something like that. And Mr. Kelkar said that 3 to 4 years, every technology is changing. Considering these two valid points, Mr. Kelkar, I will come back to you. And if you could give us more details on how should BFSI companies align their businesses in terms of productivity, as well as what you can say business value out of it, because that is really important.
So I think what is important is more than technology, it's also methodology that is important.
Okay.
So I think agile and DevSecOps is the new normal these days, and people are preferring to adopt these new methodologies. So agile allows you to deal with changing requirements, because as you go along and build systems, suddenly you find out the requirements change in between while you are making the system. And agile allows you to adopt those requirement changes. That is point one. Point two, of course, as Mr. Nair said, you need to anticipate what business is going to come up with in future. So your design should be as per the end state, and you need to design it for changes, design it for future. You need to able to visualize what new things are going to come your way. So this is second thing that we need to look at. The third thing we need to look at, of course, the technology is one part of it, one portion of it. Can you modularize, right? Mr. Nair said that, can you modularize? So certain best practices are coming, certain regulatory changes are bound to come. You need to be able to adopt to these new changes. And of course, there are business changes, there are disruptions in business. The business models themselves are changing. So you can't anticipate the business model changes along the way. So you will be ready if you have modularized things. You can reuse from past certain things. You can collapse certain things with no code, low code, and time to market and things like that. So it is a combination of all these that you need to worry about.
Okay, okay. Copy that, Mr. Kelkar. And Mr. Nair, I will bring the same question to you on what Mr. Kelkar said. So, if I ask you in terms of how will you look at the productivity while adopting the technologies, what is that you think should be on the priority of a CIO, CDO, or CTO while adopting, or embracing technologies at the company?
From I think from all of our experience, technology is going to provide much better productivity. There is no question to that. I mean, that has been, so far our experience. But there are actually there are certain challenges actually in terms of from my experience, I had a lot of experience in the banking sector. The initial days, maybe 3 decades back, when we started automation in the banking sector, the biggest hurdle was not technology or solution or anything, but the unions, as we know.
Right.
Since productivity is ensured, or productivity is a sure byproduct, but then it will be perceived as a threat to the employment by the employees, etc. At that time, that perception is already gone now. I mean, willy-nilly, we have to accept that. There is no doubt that disruption will happen in the employment, reduction will happen, downsizing will happen, but there is no other way. We have to go ahead in business means we have to automate, we have to go for newer technologies with much more efficiency, speed, and competitiveness. Naturally, the fallout will be less number of people required for the same job. Many of them will be get disrupted, like for example, contact center, call center, or back-end processing, reconciliation, that kind of thing. It's a matter of fact, and it's a reality. We have to accept that, but then that has to be done very tactically, taking the buy-in of the people also. Otherwise, some of the best things we envisage as a technical head may not have the buy-in by the employees or even other stakeholders. So that is on the productivity, my experience.
Thanks for that note, Mr. Nair. Mr. Desai, my question to you is in two parts. I'm sure you must be talking to a lot of BFSI companies. So, if you could share your experience with us, what is that the BFSI companies do while adopting any technology? Because we have to ensure, that they are going for a stable digital adoption. So the question to you in first part is, what is that they are doing right now to have a great technology while adopting that? And second is, if you could also share some examples or maybe a case study in terms of what actually goes wrong with BFSI companies while adopting some technologies.
Yeah, I think great questions, Amol. So I will answer the first one first. Adoption is key for success of any tech, all right, any vision. And we also are speaking about productivity here. How do we drive productivity? And one of the, I would say, key ingredients or key components for driving productivity is empowering the employees, and how much information you can provide the employees so that they can work more efficiently. They do not have a civil chair approach. They don't have to seek out to multiple different people, entities within the organization to further their work. So empowering of employees, information at hand is very critical. And for that, we have to continuously keep on providing them new experiences, new interfaces, the new way of working. So if you continue with the traditional old way, you are going to get stuck with all those limitations. But empowering an employee, if they have the state of art, let's say mobile applications to drive their workflows on a regular everyday basis, they will be far more productive. Every information on the hand, they are far more productive. The caution that I'm seeing the BFSI customers that I have been speaking to in terms of adopting technologies and all, everybody is looking at a long-term transformation. So one good thing is, in fact, in past 1.5 to 2 years, whichever BFSI customer that I have spoken to, or the global customers that we have been interacting with, they all are talking about transformation, because of course they have to align with the new normal. They're all talking about a new way of working. So, but they are also looking, they are very cautious that this is going to be a long-term transformation. So they don't want to go with a bandage approach. They want to, do something that is strategic, that will see through them for a longer period. So that's one of the cautions that they are adopting.
Okay, valid points, Mr. Desai. I think important one. Mr. Kelkar, I will come back to you, and if you could share your experience or maybe your case study in terms of two, three key aspects or key highlights that you think are very, very important while selecting any technology. Why I'm asking you this question is, like you said sometime back, and Mr. Nair also defended that the technology is going to evolve every after a year, every after 2, 3, 4 years. So that this whatever you are choosing today will may become outdated after 3 to 4 years, or will become redundant after a couple of years. So what exactly that 3, 4 points that you keep in mind while adopting technologies?
So I think I just want to add 1 or 2 points on the productivity front as well.
Sure.
Before I take the question. So
Sure.
we need to also think about injecting a tool in the whole process. So tools help you accelerate the development, help you reduce the rework. So I feel that by reducing the rework, you cut a lot of effort. You time to market also reduces, and with tools you get a discipline, you get a proper tracking. Sometimes you lose track of things in the heap of the emails that you look into, and you go in a very structured manner compared to unstructured way of handling things. I have seen and observed so many people not using issue management tools, basic defect management tools, code checking tools, security checking tools. So what happens is, in the end, they end up doing a lot of rework and the productivity reduces. So that is point number one. Point number two is now coming back to the adopting technology. So I look at the community help that is available. That is point number one, because almost always you end up taking help from the community, like Stack Overflow or few other places where people talk about the code, they solve the problems and all that. Second thing we do is we do POCs instead of doing a big bite. You test the technology in a particular way. You test your approach, you test your technology. Are you comfortable with it? The third thing is, we of course go with proper certification, because go with a cold approach and go with a proper serious approach. If you get trained, if you get certified, your nukes and corners are cleared, and you become that much more efficient and productive. The fourth thing we do is the process blueprint of the business has to be ready. So any technology you adopt, if the process blueprint is not ready, you end up doing a lot of rework and losing productivity. So technology adoption, yes, it is a definite thing that you do need to select, that you need to work upon. But I think these 4 or 5 factors will de-risk your way of, and of course, if there is any tool available, like I said, code checking tool. So if you do select a technology and the code checking, style checking, and all those utilities are there, then you will be able to easily maneuver and use that technology. And there are people who learn new technologies every few years. And what happens is their main habits matter a lot, rather than just adopting a new technology, because features are almost always similar. Only some things here and there change. The manner in which you produce things change. So that's all.
Mr. Nair, will you also take the same question in terms of those major things?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to do the crystal gazing of any technology. I mean, technology evolves, day by day. So when we adopt a new technology for application in the organization, it will be, BFSI adoption, I would say, better to have a conservative approach, slightly conservative approach. in the sense, don't jump into a technology since it is available. So just look for some time, maybe 3 months, 6 months, how it is adopted, what is the response, what are the issues noted, etc. Then go for that. I mean, since in the banking and finance, that is the approach not only in technology but in other day-to-day operations or risk management also. So it is a good prudent practice to follow that. Just look how it is accepted, how it is getting used by other customers or other segment, and then of course do research. I mean, all the available information with us or available in the public domain or other sources. Who is behind this technology. We can know whether this technology is going to be stable or not. Let us say, we are developing application on Android. We know that Android is going to be here at least for maybe 5 years or maybe 10 years also. Or when we develop a solution, a web solution, a browser-based solution, the browser is going to be here at least for some time, unless something replaces it. But whether a new device comes or not, the browser will remain same. Right. So we can ensure that this particular effort or application is not going to be wasted tomorrow. That again, all subject to some reasonable time. We can't say it will remain for 10 years, 20 years, but at least a foreseeable future, we can ensure that there is availability or there will be this technology and support available. It will be used by industry or users across. So,
true. I think valid points from both of you. And I mean, today people are believing in Android. You never know how the world will be after 4 to 5 years. Because right. I still remember when I got into my first job as a journalist, and everybody used to have a BlackBerry, and I was waiting for my salary, and I bought a BlackBerry. Now nobody knows what BlackBerry is. Right. Just a question of a decade, right? So Mr. Desai, I will also take the same question with you, and I'm sure you talk with a lot of BFSI companies. So what are those 3-4 things that they should keep in mind while choosing that evergreen technology, or or the technology which shouldn't redundant just day after tomorrow when they adopt it today?
I will go back to what Mr. Nair said, a while back. The first things first, the business requirements, the functional requirements, they come in first. Right. So first is always, the alignment, the technology fitment to the business requirement. So that's the first criteria that has to, be cleared. Whether it is meeting the business requirements, whether it is meeting the functional requirements, the risk, compliance, a lot of other aspects to it. Okay. Second is we are talking about driving productivity. We are talking about driving efficiencies. Also, we are talking about driving transformation. With this, am I doing something transformational, or I am just repeating the same thing in a new shell? So if it is transformative, am I transforming the employee experience with this? Am I transforming my customer experience or my vendor and partner experience with this? So keeping all these things in mind, we arrive at a particular technology strategy that, okay, can I, with this transformation, unite my front office, my mid office, and my back office, which is today all in silos? So can I unify these operations today? And for that, should I go in for siloed approach with an enterprise bus tying all those things together? This was something people used to do probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The new age thing is, can I have this on a single platform? Because that is something that is going to see me through for years to come, because the platform is going to provide me agility to move faster with the change. So I think these are some considerations that the BFSI customers are looking for.
Okay, I think valid points, and I think the conversation is going really well. Some meaningful thoughts for me. But when we specifically now spoke about the technologies, the key things that they should keep in mind. Mr. Kelkar, I will start with you again of only 2, 3 again very important points. We spoke about the choosing technology and those important and advanced technologies as well, and what actually they should keep in mind. So, Mr. Kelkar, when we adopt a technology, there are various challenges. Okay, maybe you're adopting technology today, but the execution will start only after 6 to 7 months. Sometimes you have to train your employees also because they do not know how to operate that. So, could you just highlight major challenges while adopting any technology, and also tell us how to avoid that? If you could share any case study on these lines, that would be really great.
When we adopted Flutter a few months back, we were finding it difficult to get people in Flutter in the market, right? So that is one aspect where you need to really understand that having a fancy toy in your hand is one thing, and actually implementing it at scale is another, right?
Right.
So that is one very important aspect. The second aspect is having newer technologies and doing few things here and there and using it for professional use is completely different thing. So you need to make sure that you have that thought process complete. And we ran into some troubles because we had those things not sorted for us, so we had to struggle a lot. We lost about 2-3 weeks in that. The third thing that happens
Right.
is, because we are familiar with one technology, we think that using the other technology or adopting is very similar. So somebody who has worked on C and now wanting to work on C++, you'll have to unlearn so many things that you can write a C code in C++. That's not adopting a new technology, right? You need to write C++ code in an object-oriented manner. You need to, get the native C++ things, put them to use. You need to templatize. You cannot write a procedural code in C++. You'll have to think object-oriented. So that level of training, that level of depth, that level of awareness sometimes is not there in the coders. They start doing things as they were doing earlier. So if you are naming the tables with underscore in it, and the new technologies allow you to name it with a blank space in between, you still name it in the underscore way, then you're not adopting it in a true sense. And then utilizing the technology features and not ignoring it, and utilizing all the features is very important. For example, in one of the earlier assignments, uh, there was a problem with the availability of the database. There was a lot of reports were running in a production database, and they wanted to make sure that those reports are not run during the production time. But the technology had a solution. An always on architecture from Microsoft allowed us to have a read only instance as good as the read write instance, not blocking it for doing the reporting. So I think we need to use these features to our advantage. So few of the things that come to my mind. Thank you.
Okay.
And coming back to the earlier question, an APIfication allows you to abstract things and manage changes very differently. So I think that is also one of the aspects.
Thanks, Mr. Kelkar. Mr. Nair, do you also want to add on the challenges part of adopting technologies?
I mean, it's a real challenge. And as I mentioned, we, instead of, simply being the to become the foreigner or a pioneer in the new technology, what can be a good, reasonable approach, maybe just to wait some time, just to watch, the experience of other users in maybe in other segments, and learn from that. That will pay really well. But then may not be the pioneer in that. But then technology adoption, I won't say, since you are the first one who adopted that particular technology, you will get all the customers or you will get all the business. Need not be. Especially in the BFSI segment, very good examples are there. I mean, in the country itself, I remember in the 80s and maybe up to mid 90s, the foreign banks were pioneers in the technology. When we talk about technology, IT, etc., means only Citibank, Deutsche Bank, etc. What happened to them in the post 2000 or 2010, etc. I mean, Indian banks scored much better, and they went ahead and gave them chase for their money. So what I mean is, technology being the first itself need not give us tremendous competitive advantage. So we can afford waiting some time, how it is adopted, what are the plus and minus for our business, whether this technology is really worth or not. Then take a call on that. I mean, not only the short-term advantages, but whether it will be stable for next reasonable time, 3 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years. And then who are behind this technology? And of course, as I mentioned, continually look for, in the external environment and see how these changes are happening and learn from that. So that is my
Right.
view on that.
Okay, I think we are, the watch is already started ticking, but I will still take one round of question with all of you. And that is going to be a very important questions. And Mr. Desai, I will start with you. Let me take your perspective. I mean, everyone like to give a perspective on this particular question, specifically about the emerging technologies. As we have been seeing consistently technologies evolving, and things are getting outdated tomorrow. What is important today will become outdated tomorrow. What are those emerging technologies, Mr. Desai, that you think will remain for some more time? Like people today are talking more about data and analytics and artificial intelligence, all that. And BFSI companies are already started using it far more aggressively. Bankers are using it and using predictive analytics and offering and disbursing loans to the small borrowers. The large banks also trying to adopt it for large customers. So, what is your view specifically on the emerging technologies? What are those technologies will remain in BFSI sector maybe for a long time going ahead? What is your view?
Partly, I think you answered the question in your question itself. Definitely automation and RPA, that's the way forward, and that is across the industry. But BFSI, I am seeing the adoption is the highest when it comes to RPA and artificial intelligence, be it driving the internal processes or be it driving the customer workflow, the customer services. Adoption is AI is going to be the key. Now, more and more banks are moving towards a DIY model, self-help. How can we enable and empower the customers to help themselves rather than calling the call center or visiting a branch? And even small banks, for that matter, are challenged to provide the same technology experience like a large bank to their customers. So the AI part, the automation part is going to play a very, very important role moving forward. That's going to evolve much further. Data is always important. So data mining, data intelligence, predictive analytics, all this is it's after that. But in terms of driving the operations, automation is going to be the top requirement. And again, most importantly, as I was talking about, that most of the BFSI customers today are looking at transformation. They are looking at a unified platform, okay, because that's the only way they can tie the front office, mid office, and back office and bring them onto a single page. So those are the things that I'm seeing will definitely see through for next decade or so, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Desai. Mr. Kelkar.
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, but I would say AI, ML, and robotics, bots, definitely. Chatbots, voice bots. I believe that voice-based solutions and voice-based inputs are going to come further and further. They are going to get very popular. We would say AI, ML, but I would also talk about data lakes and all these analytics, cross-sell, upsell, and those things are going to be very, very popular. RPAs, of course, will automate a lot of ops processes and automation within the organization. But I see more and more intelligent combination of these 4 or 5 technologies, one after the other, will take the cake. And of course, if you talk about the languages and all those things, I would say that no code, low code will become popular in years to come. And more and more, you will be able to see the code generators coming in the market. There will be components, there will be microservices which people will take, there will be APIs which people will subscribe to, and they will build their platforms on top of these 3. So I think I would say more than technology, the concept, the way the applications are getting built, the way the applications are going to be modeled, and the way the business models change, I think that is going to impact the technology most.
Noted your points, Mr. Kelkar, and Mr. Nair, your views.
My view is actually for the short term, it may be digitalization and automation, in terms of RPA and other kind of automation to gain speed and, reduce the overhead and increase productivity, etc. But in the long term, there is no question the AI and analytics will rule the BFSI segment. So the potential is tremendous. I mean, we can't imagine the potential of AI will have in the BFSI. Since BFSI, primarily, if you analyze it, is what we are actually dealing with. We are basically doing data processing. BFSI is nothing but data. Data is the we take the data, we process it, and we arrive at the inference or judgment, and then we use it. So we have not envisaged the impact and the usefulness of this AI can have in the BFSI. For example, I will give you a couple of instances where in a business like ours, what we found from our experience. See, we have around 4,200 plus branches across the country. It's a gold loan business. We take gold jewelry as a set, and we give a loan instantly, maybe as good as going to an ATM and take money. Customers can come to our branch and take a loan. It's a simple business model, nothing new. Maybe for centuries, money lenders were actually using the same model. The difference is we have corporatized it. I mean, that's the only difference. I mean, the interest rate is reasonable, and there is transparency and trust, etc. So one of the challenges we found was, especially in some part of the country, mostly in North India, the dacoities are too huge. So for us, it is not only the information security, but physical security itself is a big challenge. Yeah. So what we have done is actually we have put intelligent cameras across, and we have started using some of the AIs. For example, most of these dacoits, they come to the branch for reconnaissance maybe a couple of months or weeks back, and then study the environment. So the best way is to prevent a dacoity rather than post doing something. So we should be able to identify which is a normal customer, which is the suspicious customers. So we are using some of these technique known as image processing, whether somebody is coming with a weapon hidden in their body or not. That by image processing we will be able to know. Other ways of doing is actually if these same kind of people are visiting multiple branches. So in a normal case, a group of customers is highly unlikely to go multiple branches. So if those incidents happen, it will trigger, and we will actually watch them. We will analyze their earlier behavior by extracting those images, etc. That is one way of analyzing. Applying that AI technique. Another again application, a use case I will share with you is we have 1,200 plus auditors. These auditors actually go to the branches and check the quality of these gold ornaments. Branch itself has its own method of assessing the quality, but it has to be ensured. Sometimes internal fraud also can take place, so we have to prevent that. So here it's a huge overhead. Actually, 1,200 people we had to use across these branches. So we thought of how we can use this modern technology, AI or something, to reduce it. And we broke down those processes, and we found we analyzed how it is actually done manually by a person, and step by step we have broke down, and then let us say a gold ornament is, let us say, mala or a bangle, let us say. One is a color test, gold looking at. Like a human being is looking at a ornament, right. We simulated that, and then what is the next is sound test. It will be put on the table or put on the ground or somewhere. The sound, the reflection, you hear that. And then use this all this new technology like computer vision and computer hearing, And surprisingly, we found that, the accuracy is much more. I mean, those, a computer can actually view or analyze, distinguish, or I would say the quality of understanding will be much better than a human eye. So similarly for the sound also. So that kind of analysis we did, and we found that reasonably well, we would be able to use this technology rather than sending a physical auditor to a branch. Okay. Finalizing on that, what I mean is, these are the kind of use cases where, this new technology will have a tremendous impact. And one more instance, I would say, I know a couple of instances of a bank wealth management. The wealth management, as you know, wealth management, the so-called experts are there. So the client has to trust these wealth management experts. But many a times what happens is, these kind of experts, they will see that, their own short-term gains is given priority rather than the interest of the customer. Since a few cases I know, some of the clients actually lost heavily, since this particular person, wealth manager, he has actually subscribed some of these portfolios which were not stable or not desirable, considering only his commission or whatever. Okay. But AI is going to change all that. Now, once a good algorithm is there and it is tested, proven, customers will definitely believe that algorithm or a solution or whatever, rather than a physical person there. So AI is going to change, since AI will do tremendous analysis and arrive at what is best for the client. So that wealth manager may be a thing of the past in the foreseeable future. So like that, there will be tremendous changes, according to me.
I just kept listening to you, Mr. Nair. I think all three were really remarkable case studies, and I'm sure all of us and whoever is going to watch this show will look at the gold far more aggressively now and in far more meaningful manner. Gold glitters, and I'm sure it attracts a lot of decades also, which we never thought of. We always thought that it's in the movies and not otherwise. But I think it's a physical security is also very important, and quite interesting points, Mr. Nair. On that note, I think thank you so much, all of you gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives here. Thank you so much, Mr. Desai, Mr. Nair, and Mr. Kelkar, for participating in this conversation and sharing your remarkable thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nair.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, right.